Welcome to Tech for Good with Bethnal Green Ventures. I'm Paul Miller, and today I'm delighted to be joined by Alexi Long, founder of Rule, one of our portfolio companies. Rule is building something quite different in the world of fintech. Instead of another budgeting app, it's designed specifically for people who struggle with money management, particularly those with ADHD, and they're using game design, behavioral psychology to help people build better financial habits. We first got to know Alexi and the team through the Tech for Good program, and along with the team, he's tackling a problem that's both very common and surprisingly underserved. So, Alexi, it's great to have you on the show.
Great to be here, Paul.
So, just to start off, tell us a bit more about what Rule is and the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, of course. So Rule is a game literally built on top of your real finances. So I guess the easiest way to understand it is a Tamagotchi that you connect to your bank account, and everything that happens to this virtual pet, this Tamagotchi, is powered by your real behavior with your money. So it's a little bit unhinged. If you overspend, our Tamagotchi is actually a squirrel. If you overspend, squirrel's habitat starts burning down. We're still working on whether that's a bit too harsh. And when you save, you can start building its habitat and progressing. Who it's for is, it's really, there's a portion of the population who are optimizers. They get money, they can get their finances done in a spreadsheet or with a pretty traditional fintech tool. But that isn't everyone. The mass majority of us, we don't have the motivation to do it. We don't know where to start. It's overwhelming. And that's who we're going after. So really for us, it's about building confidence to reach your financial goals, making it a rewarding experience, and adding that kind of layer where you start feeling good about doing small things with your money, like saving every now and then, that doesn't exist. And, this all started because my co-founder Jude has ADHD, and we were looking at how we can help people specifically with ADHD to manage money. And we ended up where we're at. And, we come from like an inclusive design standpoint where if we can build a tool that works for people with ADHD, it's actually going to work better for everyone.
So one thing that stood out for us is that focus on ADHD. So why do you think money management is particularly hard in that context? What is it that you noticed? Well, I guess Jude noticed it himself, but what have you noticed about that?
Yeah, I guess to put it simply, people with ADHD struggle with things that are tedious and require like organization and planning. And that's because it's an executive function disorder. And so something that isn't rewarding and exciting is just harder. And so for money specifically, what that means is you may be more impulsive, you might spend more money. It means that you might actually end up having more fees for missing payments on debt, for example, or even things like just forgetting to cancel a subscription that you were excited about a week ago and you missed the reminder. And so that culminates in something that's known as the ADHD tax, which is on average, people with ADHD are £1,600 worse off every single year because of all of those little things adding up. Jude noticed that about his own money, and we started a community and talking to other people with ADHD, and we're really manual at the beginning with like how we can help people manage their money better. And it all basically ended up in how can we make it more rewarding to save and do the good things with your money versus, like when you spend, you feel good. You have all of these dopamine hits because, buying a takeaway makes you feel great, or like buying something new is exciting. And so we were trying to kind of flip that around and offer a reward loop and a reward system for when you actually save money and you don't buy something that is going to maybe put you closer to the red line at the end of each month.
And why fundamentally don't spreadsheets or existing apps work for that group? What is it that doesn't work?
Yeah. So ultimately, it's just because they're boring. It's a bit of a simplification, but managing a spreadsheet is very manual. It takes quite a lot of work. You have to kind of understand what you're doing in the first place, but also you have to, like, let's say you're not using a spreadsheet and you're using a pretty typical budgeting app. The UI and the UX of a budgeting app is based on a spreadsheet. It's tables, it's charts, it's graphs. All of that is just like not very inspiring. It's not very fun. It's not joyful. And so it's just very easy to drop off. So I think a lot of people, especially with ADHD, they'll try every single tool that is available. They'll use it for a week, but it's often like it's backwards looking. It's, you're not really sure what to do next. And so where we've come in is we've gone, okay, we actually want to focus on the behavior change element, not just the knowing where your money's gone element. And so, once we have a user and they're using our product, we can start giving them a challenge to start reducing their spending, which is much more engaging than just having to be like, oh, I've probably shouldn't spend as much this month on going to the pub, for example. Yeah. So we're trying to add loops that actually cause people to reduce their spending and save money. And all of that is kind of packaged into, when you succeed at those things, your little squirrel that you've built a little emotional connection to is rewarded and happy and is doing well in game.
I mean, it's a pretty different angle, isn't it? I mean, the squirrel, I mean, it's a phenomenal experience, but like, why? What was the moment where you were like, this needs to be a game? Do you know what I mean? I mean, in some ways, it's counterintuitive to mix up like money and gaming. What was the moment that came together?
I mean, that actually goes all the way back to when we were doing the BGV program. And I think internally we were thinking like, we're trying to create these reward loops. We're trying to give someone a challenge and we want to like get them to complete it and then like say good job. And we had a little bit of like, is this just a game? Are we just building a game on top of your bank account? And we weren't quite sure. And I remember like sitting down with Yumi, BGV team member Yumi, and she was just like, I think so. Sounds like it is. And then we sort of like started exploring it a bit more. And I mean, we come from a background where we love testing everything. So we just decided, let's build a very, very simple version of this, which essentially was a static image of a squirrel and a way of budgeting and linking those two things together. And then we had people who came back and used it again. And we were like, okay, there's something interesting here. Let's start like talking to the users who have used this and see where it goes. So it was sort of a thread that we just kept pulling approach that stemmed from how do we make spending less and saving money more joyful, essentially, and more rewarding for someone who struggles with something that's boring and requires so it's like a lot of self-motivation.
And what have you seen so far from the users? Is it working for them? What changes are you starting to see from people? And are the changes you've made to the product based on how they've reacted?
Yeah. So I think I underestimated how much people would become attached to what is happening to their squirrel. So internally we call the squirrel Nutty, but you can actually name your squirrel whatever you want. But people are super attached to Nutty. And, when you're overspending or you're on track to be overspending at the end of the month, Nutty's environment starts changing and people like really, really care about that. And so that's really good. It's what we're trying to do. It's like we're trying to evoke emotional reaction to something so that you're push to change your behavior slightly, but we're definitely trying to find the right level of, I guess, harshness, because we want people to feel empowered and not demoralized. So something we're actually experimenting with a lot right now is how harsh are we when things aren't quite looking as well as they could, and like how positive are we when they're going well, and finding that balance. But it is one of those things where we just have to experiment a lot. So when we sort of first launched this version of the product where Nutty's little sapling ends up on fire when you've overspent, we were one, surprised that people really cared, but two, like, oh, okay, we should probably like find the balance here where most of this is about positive reinforcement, not making it a negative thing.
Yeah, I guess that there is a balance in there, isn't there? Because you're trying to build habits, and yeah, there's some responsibility that comes with that in terms of the design, the way that you do that design. How do you think about that as a team in terms of building positive habits rather than getting people hooked for the sake of it?
Yeah. I mean, it's a great question. I'm a like particularly good person to ask on the team, I think, because I'm about to hit 1,000-day Duolingo streak. So I think I really understand the power of creating a habit. And my experience of going through that has been like one of being super motivated and doing half an hour of Duolingo a day to like feeling like it's really like a chore and being like, this is kind of annoying that I've got this thing I just want to keep doing. And so because of that, I am very aware of like how habits are formed and like, you go from being motivated to not, and that's always going to happen and it's going to depend on your life. And so the way we are building is we want the action of interacting with your finances to be rewarding in and of itself, regardless of how your finances are going and regardless of like how motivated you are to save money at a particular time. And to do that, we need it to be something that doesn't take very long, feels quite simple, and has joyful moments in it. And so that's what we're focused on, is like something that's simple, doesn't take long. And if it's the only thing you do to your finances on a particular day, you've done something really positive. And so anything that is a bit unhinged and negative, we only want it to be like a temporary state. Maybe it's a bit of like, if you were with your friends, it's a bit of a jibe. It's like, hey, like you could be a bit better. But then it's quickly gone and you're focused on like, you're here, that's a really great thing. And so, when building for habits, we're very data driven. So we like look at like whether things are keeping people coming back. But then also I think it's like you have to be a bit creative and a bit like gut instinct. Like, is this going to work better? Would I use it more? Does it make the experience more joyful for me? How do we always end every session on a delight rather than you come in and it felt like a chore and you're like, oh, I just did that because I've done it for 2 weeks. We want people to kind of want to come back. And that I think for us is where the game play layer becomes really important, because we can go as far as our imagination goes on that side of things. And so it's something that we're like excited to explore more.
Just taking a step back a bit and be interesting just to talk a little bit about the team and what you did before as well, and I guess what you brought from that previous experience to Rule as well. What is it that you're trying to build differently, if you like, based on your previous experience?
Yeah, so previously the founding team, we all worked together at a financial planning startup called Guardian Angel, which is now part of Octopus Group, Octopus Legacy. And we were building tools for people doing end of life planning. So it's very different, but still like big financial moment in someone's life. And how do you deal with that? And how do you do it in a way that is understanding of someone's situation and it's not overwhelming? And it's something that when you're going through something like someone passing away, you have to be super mindful of the experience of the actual service. And I think that was always core at the previous company we worked at, is like how people feel about doing this financial task, essentially. And that's something that we definitely took into what we're doing now. It's like the emotion and the feeling of using our product is just as important as the utility. And then also our previous experience, we worked really closely with users. So there was a lot of like talking to users, where they're at in their journey, how they're finding the product and the service, and like learning from that and then applying it to building. And that's something that we do all the time. We have a pretty active Discord that is it's full of people using our product. And every time we release something new, it's going up in a Discord message. People are responding to it. We're immediately finding out if something's broken, but we're also finding out people's reactions, and everybody has ideas. So it's also a great way to kind of crowdsource things that we could try and experiment on, so that we're not just focused on the 6 ideas that we have in our team.
Amazing. So, I mean, we met you through the BGV Tech for Good program. I mean, what was that experience like for you? Because you worked in startups before, but how was it helpful? Was it useful? How did you find it?
Yeah, I think it was extremely useful. I think even though we'd kind of had previous startup experience, it provided us with like accountability, which, when we joined BGV, I'd probably say we were in the idea maze, where, we had a team, we'd worked together before, we had an interesting space, something that we thought there was an opportunity in, and especially one that can really help people. But we were still kind of going through this, well, maybe it's this thing that we build, or maybe it's this, and we're going to test that. And having a like frequent touch point with BGV helped us really do that in quite a ruthless way. Well, I would describe our process as like ruthless, but more of just what went on this week. Like having that accountability layer was super useful for us, because when you're working together with people like every hour of every day, you just can forget. You can kind of get sidetracked, or you can go down a rabbit hole, or you might be excited about something, but you just needed someone external to be like, maybe that's not working. So that was one really useful aspect of BGV's program. I think also you never know what you don't know, and that's like something I really believe in. And like feedback from anybody, advice from anybody, learnings from anybody are super useful, especially from people who've, you guys have got an experience of a big portfolio, lots of experiences to draw from. Talking to founders who are similar stage, later stage, it's always useful. I never look at any conversation thinking, it's probably not worth time. Like I think every conversation can lead to something, and you don't know before you have it. So that like access to the network, I guess is what I'm saying, was really useful for us. And then especially when we were raising our pre-seed, BGV's network and intros were vital to that process and to us being able to raise, to hire, and really get to where we're at the moment.
Great. And looking ahead, what are you excited about for the next 12 months? Is it all about the product? Where do you think you're going?
Well, yeah, I'm definitely a product biased person. I love working with product. I love seeing how people react to things that we're trying or to an experiment. A lot of my excitement is going to be product based. I think where we're at the moment is it's quite a simple V1 of what we're trying to build, and it's working. Like, I love that. But I'm really excited to see where it goes. What's V5 like? What's V10? And we'll get there through a process of experimentation and just trying quite wacky ideas. So I'm excited for the journey that gets us to what it will be in a year. I don't know what exactly that will look like, but that's, the next 12 months is going to be a lot of all the team hands on deck thinking about what do we do, how do we improve this thing, we've got some feedback from this user. And that's really what I enjoy the most, because I guess we're lucky we're doing something that feels really creative, and that idea generation and ability to kind of make space for creativity is really fun.
And I mean, thinking about founders who are maybe where you were a couple of years ago, what advice would you have to them? What have you learned over the last couple of years, particularly, a tech for good startup?
Yeah, I think, well, number one, you've probably heard me say this a lot. Talk to your users, whether they're potential users or they end up not being users, it's fine. Just be talking to people that in the space that you're working in, because that is what gets you through what I talked about earlier, the idea maze. Just never not do that. That's crucial thing number one. And then the second thing is after talking to users, the most important thing is to put something in front of them and see if they want it, see if they'll use it regularly. Maybe if you're in the SaaS side of things, it's B2B, and it's will they pay for it? Things like that. And just having those conversations leads to trying things and finding out whether it works or not. And then my final kind of step would be take the learnings from how people use the product or the test that you're doing and turn that into a story, because I think I didn't realize you're always storytelling in the process of building something new. So you're storytelling with the users that you talk to, you're storytelling with people who are like BGV to the investor side of things, but you're also storytelling to yourself and working out where you can go, and that starts off as a vision. And if you can coherently say, this is what we've got now and I can see this story taking it might not end up being that. It shows, and that level of understanding helps you stay on the path towards where you want to go.
Fantastic. And just finally, where can people find out about Rule? How can they get involved? How can they use the product?
Yeah, I mean, rulemoney.co.uk is probably the easiest, or on the App Store, you can search for Rule, download it, and join our Discord and give us some feedback. Or if you want to directly reach out to the team, Rule on LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn, probably quite easy to find. And as I said, I think all conversations are useful, and whether that's you guys should try this, or hey, I want to ask you about your experience doing XYZ, I'm more than happy to talk to people.
Well, Alexi, thank you so much for joining us. It's been great to hear more about Rule and what you're building. If you're listening and have suggestions for guests or topics, do get in touch. And if you're building a tech for good startup and looking for early stage investment, learn more about Bethnal Green Ventures at bethnalgreenventures.com. That's it for today. Thanks for listening.